when I saw his coming out of his car and this or that, I saw a scared puppy. He looked very, very, very concerned about the fate. Look at that. I didn't see any bravado or confidence or anything like that.
Now that scared puppy comment from former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi certainly got under former President Donald Trump's skin, and he responded to it on Truth Social, writing that I purposely didn't comment on Nancy Pelosi's very weird story concerning her husband, but now I can because she said something about me with glee. That was really quite vicious, he says. I was a scared puppy, she said, as she watched me on television like millions of others that didn't see that. I wasn't scared, nevertheless.
No, I wasn't, I swear I wasn't.
How mean a thing to say. She is a wicked witch whose husband's journey from hell starts and finishes with her. She is a sick and demented psycho who will someday live in hell. Now look, I will say the visuals that I think that was on MSNBC, used while Nancy Pelosi was arguing that he looked like a scared puppy, didn't really depict that. But I mean, make of that what you will. At this point, he's facing 3 separate indictments. The latest indictment, of course, has to do with his attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. And Cenk, before I go to you, I just want to say, animals are innocent. And I'm kind of sick of politicians using adorable puppies to make their political points, because Pelosi wasn't the first one to do it. In fact, back in March of 2020, Trump also used puppies in order to attack Nancy Pelosi. Watch.
When you see Speaker Pelosi come out and say, President Trump's denial at the beginning of this was deadly, as the president fiddles, people are dying. What's your reaction to that?
Well, you know, it's a sad thing. Look, she's a sick puppy, in my opinion. She really is. She got a lot of problems, and that's a horrible thing to say.
Scared puppy, sick puppy, just leave the puppies alone, okay? Cenk, what say you?
Okay, so there's definitely someone who is psychotic and unhinged among those 2 politicians. And it ain't Nancy Pelosi. I got 100 problems with Nancy Pelosi, but being demented and living in hell are not among them, okay? So, look, and I can say this with most of you that watch Young Turks, understanding that I'm totally unbiased, because I can't stand Nancy Pelosi. And it's not personal, it's just that she took $1 billion in corrupt money and then did those corrupt donors' interests. So I got no love for Nancy Pelosi, unlike everyone in mainstream media who feel like their mom was attacked, right? But what is Donald Trump talking about? There's 2 different problems here. One is just absolutely psychotic statement, right? She's gonna live in hell. What, for calling you a scared puppy? That's what gets you into hell these days? I mean, that's a pretty low bar. I think maybe, well, apparently you're going to hell too, because you called her a sick puppy, so you're gonna live in some sort of demented hell. And
you know the reference he's making to Nancy Pelosi's husband, right?
Oh, of course, I'm gonna get to that in a second. That's the most dangerous part. Okay, so just like the whole idea that this was some sort of vicious attack against Donald Trump, she just said scared puppy. This guy is so fragile. Right wingers, don't you see it? What's wrong with you? Clean out your eyeballs.
To be fair,
like he's so weak. He's the weakest man in America.
It doesn't take much to get under his skin, and he loses it over any perceived insult. And there's something about Nancy Pelosi trolling him in particular that's particularly effective, because she gets under his skin very easily. And so, look, to be honest, the day he got indicted for the 3rd time, earlier in the day, homeboy was playing golf. Like, I don't know if he's actually scared.
No,
I don't know if
I know with great certainty.
How do you know with great certainty?
Inside his mind, that's why. Okay, no.
He does have a certain level of unearned confidence, and I think that usually carries him through all the legal battles that he typically deals with. I think in this case, it's gonna be a lot more difficult for him to skirt responsibility or consequences for what he engaged in. But what do you think?
The reason why I say I know, look, does anybody know with absolute certainty? Of course not. But what do I base it on? I base it on like literally hundreds of people that were insiders of Donald Trump, that were right next to Donald Trump. Some who he's had spectacular fights with, you could dismiss if you want. but a lot that he didn't. And they all leaked the same thing, or they all say it with their name attached to the quote, like, he's a nervous wreck. He leaks himself to make it what it looks like Maggie Haberman, right?
Right.
And Maggie Haberman is like #2 most reported thing ever from the New York Times is Trump's a nervous wreck. He's like so worried about this, he's scared. I know guys like this. It's all false bravado. I mean, look, guys, we've been attacked online 2,000 is an incredible low ball. 2 million times? I don't know.
2,000 times today alone.
Yeah, 2,000 times today alone. Like, scared puppy is the lowest thing I've ever, meaning it's no big deal. It's like the smallest insult I've ever seen, right? But for this guy who's so insecure, so weak, even the tiniest little insults, like, you're gonna live in hell for calling me a scared puppy. What a mess. What a sniveling, pathetic loser.
He called her a sick and demented psycho.
For saying scared puppy? Do you exist online? Have you ever? My God, if he ever goes on Twitter and finds out what people are actually saying about him, okay. And of course.
No, but I think, look, honestly, Nancy Pelosi triggers the hell out of him.
Yeah,
right?
But you know why? That's another reason why he's so weak. It's always women that trigger him, right? And if you're a strong, confident man, who cares what another guy says about you, or a woman says about you, or a puppy says about you? Who cares, right? Like, sure, everybody's affected to some degree, but you let it bounce off of you. It's ironic because he's considered Teflon Don because all of the different attacks against him bounce off him because MAGA says we don't care if he murders anyone. I love the terrible things that he says, etc. But internally, in his psychology, everything sticks to him. Even this tiniest little critique makes him cry and cry and cry at night. He's not strong 1%, and you could tell it by how personally he takes it when it's women who do it. That's the telltale sign of a weak man.
And look, he has been lashing out more than usual lately, and it's not just toward Nancy Pelosi. He's been lashing out at everyone. Of course, he's been putting out some threats as well, which got him into a little bit of trouble on Friday. I'll get to that in just a moment. But he's gone after Pelosi. He's attacked Mike Pence, Special Counsel Jack Smith, of course, the judge presiding over this particular case, this indictment having to do with the 2020 presidential elections and his attempt to overturn the results. It just goes on and on. And one of the threats he put out there apparently has led to some court filings by the prosecutors. So in a court filing just before 10 p.m. on Friday, Senior Assistant Special Counsels Molly Gaston and Thomas Wyndham alerted the judge in Trump's latest criminal case, US District Court Judge Tanya Chutkin, to a combative post Trump sent earlier in the day. And in that post earlier in the day, Trump wrote, quote, "If you go after me, I'm coming after you." Now, that is clearly a threat, but it's interesting because the prosecutors are using that statement to make a point about how the judge needs to implement some pretty severe restrictions in order to prevent Trump from going public with some of the evidence that the prosecutors are going to share that they've obtained through the discovery process, right? So I want to give you some information on that. So Gaston and Wyndham wrote in their court filing, all the proposed order seeks to prevent is the improper dissemination or use of discovery materials, including to the public. Such a restriction is particularly important in this case because the defendant has previously issued public statements on social media regarding witnesses, judges, attorneys, and others associated with legal matters pending against him. And so in response to that, a Trump spokesperson told the press that, look, all the federal prosecutors are trying to do here is violate Trump's freedom of speech. Trump repeated that line or that talking point in a Truth Social post, writing that, no, I shouldn't have a protective order placed on me because it would impinge upon my right to free speech. Deranged, he loves that word, deranged Jack Smith and the Department of Justice should, however, because they are illegally leaking all over the place, meaning leaking to the press, which could be true. I mean, someone's leaking something to the press. That's how we get so many reports about the updates to this this case. And the judge on Saturday, Judge Chutkan, let's go to graphic 7 here, ordered that Trump's team file a response to the federal prosecutor's motion by 5 p.m. today. Trump's attorneys attempted to extend the deadline. The judge denied that. And sure enough, today there was finally a response from the defense attorneys. Let's go to that graphic next. And they wrote that in a trial about First Amendment rights, that's not what this trial is about, the government seeks to restrict First Amendment rights. Worse, it does so against its administration's primary political opponent during an election season in which the administration, prominent party members, and media allies have campaigned on the indictment and proliferated its false allegations. I just want to reiterate again, regardless of how many times Trump's defense attorneys repeat this, regardless how many times conservative media repeat this stupid talking point, this trial is not about First Amendment rights. This trial is about the actions that Trump put behind his words in regard to installing fake electors in order to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election.
Yeah, so I want to clarify a couple of things. First of all, the protective order, I think, is being mischaracterized by a lot of the press. So it makes it sound like Jack Smith and the prosecutors were like, hey, the court should protect us. No, they're saying it's a protective order to make sure he doesn't leak about the case. We're about to send him all these documents, by the way, including witness lists. And so when he's saying, if you come after me, I'm gonna come after you, that could easily be a threat towards the witnesses. Now, the thing with Trump is that he purposely leaves things a tiny bit vague so that it could mean, well, no, I'm just gonna come after you rhetorically, which I have every right to do, and that's true.
Plausible deniability,
right.
That's what he's an expert at.
Yeah, yep. And it could mean I'm gonna come after you legally if you're gonna come after me legally. Some plausible deniability on that, but in other times that he has said that, people have been physical and violent, and he has, according to even his former chief of staff, enjoyed that. And he thought they were right to go after Mike Pence and so many others on January 6th. So now, whether you say, hey, that's actionable, meaning like, are those words alone enough to put another charge on Trump? No, I wouldn't go that far, right? But should they be careful about him targeting witnesses publicly? Of course! Lunatic, deranged fans of Donald Trump have tried to murder a lot of people. I mean, we can go through the whole dozens of cases again of the pipe bombers and the guys showing up near Obama's house and the Supreme Court and so many other places where they threaten to kill people based on what Donald Trump said. And Donald Trump is perfectly aware of that. So remember, we started with calling someone a scared puppy is apparently vicious and demented.
Vicious.
But saying, if you come after me, I'm gonna come after you, with the implicit threat of, remember all the other times that I said that, and people trying to kill others, right? That is apparently not vicious. That's totally okay. And again, in MAGA world, nothing matters. They'll believe that. They'll think calling someone a puppy is like the sickest, craziest thing in the world, and Trump inciting violence after violence after violence is just free speech and it's all good, right? And Anna's of course right. It's not about whether you asked for a recount. He asked and received many recounts, all the recounts he wanted. No, it's when he did a fake elector scheme and had them sign papers saying that they were the real electors when they weren't. That is textbook fraud, let alone all the other things. And I want to just come back to, speaking of violence, the last point I want to make about Nancy Pelosi's husband, right? So he makes an allusion to her, like, oh, I didn't want to say anything about how your husband got his head bashed in by another fan of mine, but now that you called me a meanie word, I'm gonna talk about it and unleash more demons against you. And that your husband was smashing the head with a hammer by one of my fans because he thought he was helping me, but no, it's actually your fault, Nancy Pelosi. And you basically, his message seems to be, you had it coming because you dared to ever criticize me. So what does that mean for anyone else who criticizes him?
Yeah,
the guy's a mobster, he's a piece of crap, he's a lifelong criminal. It's super obvious unless you're in a cult.
I want to shed a little bit more light on the threat about Nancy Pelosi's husband, because remember, there were also all sorts of strange conspiracy theories floating around from the right wing alleging that, no. This man who attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband is not a Trump supporter. It's actually Nancy Pelosi's husband's secret lover.
They're hilarious. I mean,
yeah, so
look, that's why we hate, by the way, MAGA idiots. That's why we call you a cult, because you believe in insane theories like that. Oh yeah, I bet they were gay lovers. That's why he smashed him over the head and said, "I love Trump." Okay, come on, get that head out of here, man. Look, the rest of the country can see you guys. The only people who can't see straight are you guys, who are like, "Oh yeah, no, smashing someone over the head. Yeah, that's because they're yeah, gay lovers, gay frogs, gay everything, obsessed lunatics." So no, like, and by the way, the reaction of a lot of MAGA watching this will be like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do violence against you. How dare you call us violent?" Okay, look, why don't you fight with words? Political ideas, I know you have none, zero. Okay, Trump, what did you ever accomplish? Nothing but trillions of dollars to the rich. Okay, get suckered by this con man, see how you like it. They should draw the line when he encourages violence. When he encourages violence, the law should apply to him along with every other American citizen. I know, MAGA, you think you're above the law and that your dear king should be dictator of everyone and should get to break any law he likes and incite any violence he likes. Sorry, I don't agree. I believe in America, unlike you guys. I believe in democracy, unlike you guys. And I believe in winning in the battlefield of ideas, not violence, unlike you guys. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.